So there's this new AI tool on the block. It's been designed to take on one of the most preventable yet deadliest cancers for women today. The real question isn't whether it can perform in some sterile lab, it's whether it actually works out in the real world where it counts. Let's get to the facts. I want you to start with this number, 300,000. That is how many women die from cervical cancer, every single year. And let's be crystal clear, almost 90% of those deaths happen in low and middle income countries. This isn't just a global issue, it's a highly targeted one.
So you have to ask yourself, the critical question isn't really why is this happening, it's why are we letting this happen? We know how to prevent this disease, but it keeps happening because the main screening tool used in these very regions is, frankly, just not good enough. It misses the mark way too often.
You could call this a tragedy, but really, it's a failure of logistics. The heart of the problem is a technology gap, the lack of an accurate and accessible screening tool right where it's needed most. And that is the exact gap this new AI is supposed to fill. Okay, so this brings us to the main event, the old guard versus the new challenger. Let's really break down the difference between the two. All right, so the current standard in many of these settings is a method called VI. It's really simple, and it's cheap. A health worker puts some acetic acid, which is basically vinegar, on the cervix and just looks for any changes with their own eyes. The problem? It's totally subjective, and its accuracy, well, the study calls it suboptimal. That's a polite way of saying it doesn't work well enough. And here's the difference in a nutshell. On one side, you've got the old way, a naked eye inspection that relies entirely on subjective judgment. On the other side, the AI challenger, called AVE. It uses a smartphone camera and an algorithm. The whole point is to replace human guesswork with consistent data-driven analysis. Look, performing well in a lab is nice, but it's pretty much irrelevant. The only test that matters is out in the field. So the goal here was simple. Take this AI out of its controlled environment and throw it into the messy, unpredictable conditions of frontline public health clinics. And make no mistake, this study was massive. That's what gives its findings so much weight. We're talking more than 24,000 women, spread across 57 different facilities in 5 African countries. The test was straightforward. Compare the AI's call to the standard visual inspection. And to know who was right, both were measured against the absolute gold standard, a tissue biopsy. This was a full-scale, real-world stress test. So, the test was run. The numbers were crunched. What did the researchers actually find out? Let's get right to the results. First, let's look at the current standard of care, VIA. Its sensitivity was 36.6%. Let me put that in plain English. For every 3 women who actually had precancer, the test missed 2 of them. That's our baseline. It's not a great one. Now, let's look at the AI. A sensitivity of 60.1%. That's a huge jump. Suddenly, you're correctly identifying 3 out of every 5 women with precancer. We're talking about a massive, statistically significant improvement over what's being used now, period. But, and this is a big but, there's always a trade-off. You can see it clearly in this table. While the AI's sensitivity, its ability to find the disease, went way up, its specificity went down. And what that means is it was less accurate at identifying healthy women. So it raised more false alarms than the old method. It finds more disease, but it also sends more healthy women for follow-up they don't need. This graph shows that trade-off perfectly. See the top left corner? That's perfection. 100% sensitivity, 100% specificity. You can see the AI, that blue dot, gets us a whole lot closer to that perfect corner than the old method, which is the green dot. It's a significant move in the right direction. So let's move past the numbers for a second. What does all this actually mean for a health worker on the ground, in a clinic? How is this tool actually supposed to be used? And this is absolutely the most crucial point. This AI is not designed to replace health workers. It's designed to augment them. The intended use is for a health worker to do the standard VIA test, but with the AI assisting them. And when they do that, the combined performance, the human plus the AI, jumps to a sensitivity of 71.8%. That's the real power here, human expertise supercharged by AI. Now, we have to be honest about the limitations here. First, that lab performance of 85% sensitivity, it dropped to 60% in the real world. That's a serious reality check. Second, this does not, and is not meant to, replace HPV testing. That's still the gold standard, and it found over 90% of cases in this very study. Third, there's something called verification bias, because women who screen negative didn't get a biopsy to confirm.
And finally, a huge practical problem. The smartphone they used for the study, it's already obsolete. That creates a major headache for scaling this up.
So, when you weigh all the data, the improvements and the limitations, what's the bottom line here?
I think this study's own authors put it best. They said this tool has the potential to substantially improve detection compared to what's being done now. And that's the key word, isn't it? Improve. This was never about finding a perfect solution. It's about finding a better one.
And that really leaves us with the most important question. In the world of public health, perfect solutions are rare. So when you have a tool that is demonstrably significantly better than the alternative, but it still has its flaws, how do you decide it's good enough to deploy and start saving lives? That's the challenge now.